No music, no mercy, no turning back. Season 6 of The Chosen opens at the moment everything breaks. Not with hope, not with miracles, but with silence. The kind of silence that comes right before history changes forever. What you are about to witness is not a comforting retelling. It is the beginning of the end, and it will test every ounce of faith the disciples thought they had. The Chosen Season 6, Episode 1, begins at the darkest turning point of the entire series. This episode pulls viewers into the night of Jesus' arrest and the brutal chain of events that follow, told with raw emotion and unfiltered intensity. There is no comfort here, no soft landing, only the weight of betrayal, fear, injustice, and sacrifice. From the silence of Gethsemane to the chaos of the arrest, from illegal trials built on lies to the crushing road to the cross, the episode focuses not just on what happens to Jesus, but on what happens to everyone who loves him. The disciples scatter. Faith fractures, courage fails, and the cost of fear is exposed in devastating ways. Season 6 refuses to sanitize the story. It leans into the pain, the injustice, and the emotional aftermath of the crucifixion, showing how hope appears completely extinguished before the miracle can begin. This is not just a retelling of Scripture, it is an experience meant to be felt. Episode 1 ends in silence, grief, and waiting, setting the stage for a season that will challenge, confront, and ultimately transform everything we thought we understood about sacrifice, love, and redemption. The episode begins in darkness, heavy and suffocating. The Garden of Gethsemane is quiet, but it is not peaceful. The air feels thick, like the world itself is holding its breath. Jesus kneels alone, just a short distance from the disciples. His body is still, but his soul is in agony. This is not the calm teacher we have followed for 5 seasons. This is a man fully aware that pain beyond imagination is only moments away. His prayer is not dramatic. It is raw. It is desperate. Every word feels pulled from deep inside him. He knows what is coming. He knows there is no escape. And yet, he still asks, not to avoid the suffering, but to survive it. Not my will, but yours be done. Those words hang in the night like a final surrender. Nearby, the disciples fail him in the most human way possible. They sleep, not because they don't care, but because fear is exhausting. Their eyes are heavy, their spirits are unprepared. Jesus returns to them again and again, disappointment and love written clearly across his face. He warns them, he pleads with them, but they do not understand. Not yet. Then it happens. Footsteps, torches, steel glinting in firelight. Judas emerges from the darkness, his face unreadable, his resolve fragile but firm. This is not a villain twirling his mustache. This is a broken man choosing the wrong path because he thinks it's the right one. When he steps forward and kisses Jesus, the betrayal feels personal, intimate, devastating. Chaos erupts instantly. Soldiers rush in, voices shout, fear explodes like fire. One of the disciples draws a sword and attacks, desperate to protect the man who never asked for violence. An ear is severed, blood hits the ground. For a moment, it feels like everything could spiral into a massacre. But Jesus stops it, even now, even here. He heals the wounded man without hesitation. No anger, no resentment, just mercy. It is one of the most haunting moments of the episode. He is being arrested for crimes he did not commit, and yet he is still healing his enemies. The soldiers hesitate. The disciples stare in disbelief. This is not how power is supposed to work. The disciples scatter, just like the scriptures said they would. Peter hesitates longer than the others. You can see the war inside him. Loyalty screaming louder than fear, but fear still wins. He follows from a distance, close enough to see, far enough to survive. Every step he takes feels like a betrayal he doesn't yet realize he will never forgive himself for. Jesus is bound and dragged away. His hands are tied, his freedom gone. The teacher who once calmed storms now walks silently into one. The camera lingers on the faces left behind. Mary Magdalene weeping, John frozen in shock, the others disappearing into the shadows. Their world did not end gently. It collapsed in one violent moment. As Jesus is pulled through the dark streets of Jerusalem, whispers spread. Doors crack open. Faces peer out. Some are curious. Some are satisfied. Some are afraid. The rabbi from Nazareth has finally been captured. The city does not yet realize it is watching the most unjust night in human history unfold. This is not the crucifixion yet. This is worse. This is the moment hope is arrested. And the episode makes one thing painfully clear. Nothing will ever be the same again. Jesus is dragged through the city while Jerusalem sleeps. The streets are narrow and dark, lit only by torches that throw long, twisted shadows across stone walls. Every step hurts. Not just his body, but the weight of what is unfolding. This is not justice. This is urgency. Fear is driving everything now, and fear never waits for daylight. He is brought first to Annas, a man who no longer holds official power, yet still controls everything from the shadows. Annas does not shout. He does not rush. His calm is more unsettling than rage. He studies Jesus like a problem that must be solved, not a man who must be judged. He asks about the disciples, about the teachings, about influence. He is searching for something, anything, that can be twisted into a crime. Jesus answers with quiet strength. He reminds them that he taught openly, in public, in synagogues, in the temple. He hid nothing. His words are not defensive. They are factual, honest, and that honesty angers them more than rebellion ever could. Then it happens. A guard strikes Jesus across the face. The sound is sharp, final, shocking. There is no warning, no reason, just violence. The room freezes. For a brief moment, even Annas looks unsettled. Jesus does not fight back. He does not curse. He simply asks why he was struck for speaking the truth. That calm response only fuels their cruelty. They are not dealing with a criminal. They are dealing with someone they cannot control. Jesus is sent to Caiaphas. This is where the night turns truly ugly. The Sanhedrin is assembled in secret, at an illegal hour, driven by desperation. Faces fill the room. Religious leaders, elders, men who claim to speak for God. But what fills the space is not holiness. It is panic. They know time is against them. The people love Jesus. Mourning could ruin everything. Witnesses are called forward, one after another. Their stories don't match. Their accusations collapse under their own weight. One claims Jesus threatened the temple. Another twists his words. Another exaggerates. Lies stack on top of lies, and still nothing sticks. The frustration grows. Voices rise. Tempers flare. This is not a trial. It is a scramble. And in the middle of it all stands Jesus, bound, bruised, exhausted, silent. That silence is unbearable to them. They want him to defend himself, to argue, to beg, to panic, but he doesn't. His silence exposes them. Every contradiction, every false witness, every angry outburst only proves how hollow their case truly is. The longer he remains calm, the more desperate they become. Caiaphas finally snaps. He steps forward and demands an answer that cannot be ignored. He places Jesus under oath and asks the question that has been circling all night. Are you the Messiah? The room holds its breath. Jesus lifts his head, and then he speaks. His words are clear, certain, unshaken. He does not soften the truth. He does not dodge it. He declares exactly who he is and what they will see. The Son of Man. Power, authority, glory. The reaction is instant. Caiaphas tears his robes in outrage. Others shout. Some recoil as if struck. They cry blasphemy, not because they are shocked, but because they are terrified. Jesus has just said out loud what they feared most, that he is not just a teacher, not just a prophet, but something far greater. They have their charge, death. But there is a problem they cannot escape. They do not have the power to kill him. Rome does. And that means the game changes. The religious leaders exchange looks. Plans shift. Accusations must evolve. What began as a religious dispute must now become a political threat. Jesus cannot just be a blasphemer anymore. He must become a danger to Caesar. Outside, the night drags on. Somewhere in the shadows, Peter watches from a distance, heart racing, courage fading. He does not yet know that his own trial is moments away. A different kind of trial. one that will leave no bruises, but will break him all the same. As dawn approaches, Jesus is led away again. The worst part is not over. It has only just begun. Morning begins to creep over Jerusalem, but there is no light in what comes next. Jesus is taken from the religious leaders to the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate. This shift is immediate and unsettling. The shouting priests now change their tone. The accusations change too. Blasphemy is no longer mentioned. God is no longer part of the argument. Now it is politics. Now it is power. They accuse Jesus of claiming to be a king. Pilate listens, already annoyed. This is not his problem. Another religious dispute spilling into Roman business. He questions Jesus directly. His voice is firm but curious. "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answers calmly, not defiantly, not fearfully. "You say that I am." That answer unsettles Pilate. He sees no rebel, no violent revolutionary, no threat to Rome. He sees a man who looks more like a victim than a criminal. Pilate turns to the crowd and says what no one expects. He finds no guilt in Jesus, but the leaders are ready for this. They push harder, they accuse louder, they stir the crowd. They warn Pilate that letting Jesus go will make him look weak in Caesar's eyes. That word, Caesar, changes everything. Pilate feels the pressure. He does what cowards often do. He tries to pass responsibility. When he learns Jesus is from Galilee, he sends him to Herod. Maybe Herod will deal with it. Maybe this problem will disappear. Jesus is taken again, dragged from one place of judgment to another, treated like an object no one wants to touch. Herod is amused. He has heard the stories. He wants a miracle, a performance, a sign. He asks Jesus questions, mocks him, laughs with his soldiers. But Jesus says nothing, not a single word. That silence enrages Herod. Without entertainment, Jesus is worthless to him. He dresses him in mockery, sends him back to Pilate, and washes his hands of the matter. Pilate is trapped now. The crowd is growing louder. The priests are relentless. The people are confused, stirred into anger by lies they barely understand. Pilate knows Jesus is innocent. His wife warns him. His conscience burns, but his fear burns hotter. He offers the crowd a choice: Jesus or Barabbas, a known criminal, a violent man. Surely they will choose Jesus. They don't. The crowd shouts for Barabbas over and over again. The noise grows. The anger spreads like fire. Pilate asks what should be done with Jesus. The answer comes back as one voice: "Crucify him." The word lands like a hammer. Pilate hesitates. He argues. He pleads. He asks what evil Jesus has done. But the crowd does not want truth. They want blood. Finally, Pilate does the unthinkable. He washes his hands in front of them, pretending innocence while condemning an innocent man to death. Jesus is handed over. The soldiers take him away. What follows is cruelty without restraint. Jesus is beaten, mocked, spat on, crowned with thorns. Every strike is meant to break him, not just physically, but completely. They dress him as a king and kneel in mock worship. Laughter fills the room. Pain fills his body. And still, he does not curse them. Outside, Mary watches. A mother forced to witness the destruction of her son. The weight of Simeon's prophecy presses into her soul. This is the sword piercing her heart. She cannot stop it. She cannot fix it. All she can do is stand. The cross is prepared. The sentence is final. And as Jesus is led away to die, the crowd slowly quiets, unaware that they have just sealed the most tragic and powerful moment in human history. The road to the cross has begun, and there is no turning back now. The streets of Jerusalem are awake now, but there is no life in them. Only noise, only movement without mercy. Jesus is forced forward, the wooden cross pressed into his torn back. Every step is punishment. Every breath burns. Blood stains the ground behind him, marking a path of suffering no one can undo. The crowd follows. Some shout insults, some watch in silence. Some feel uneasy, but say nothing. This is how injustice survives, loud hatred supported by quiet fear. Roman soldiers keep the pace brutal. They do not care who he is or what he taught. To them, he is just another condemned man meant to make an example. Jesus stumbles. The weight is too much. A soldier grabs a man from the crowd, Simon of Cyrene, and forces him to carry the cross, not out of kindness, but efficiency. Jesus must survive long enough to be crucified. That is all that matters. Simon hesitates, terrified and confused, suddenly pulled into a moment that will change him forever. As Jesus is dragged forward, women begin to weep openly. Their grief cuts through the noise. Jesus turns to them, even now thinking of others instead of himself. He tells them not to weep for him, but for what is coming. His voice is weak, but his message is clear. This suffering is not the end of the story, but it is only the beginning of sorrow. Mary watches every step. She remembers holding him as a child, teaching him to walk, hearing him laugh. Now she watches him collapse under the weight of the cross, unable to help, unable to reach him. The pain on her face is unbearable. This is not symbolic suffering. This is a mother watching her son die in front of her. They reach Golgotha, the place of the skull. There is no ceremony, no hesitation. The soldiers move with practiced cruelty. Jesus is thrown to the ground. His arms are stretched wide. Nails are driven through flesh. The sound echoes, sharp, final. Each strike feels like it lands inside the chest of everyone watching. Jesus cries out, not in anger, in pain. The cross is lifted. His body hangs, torn and exposed, between heaven and earth. Above his head, the charge is written in mockery, King of the Jews. The religious leaders scoff. The soldiers gamble for his clothes. The crowd stares. Some taunt him. Save yourself. Some shake their heads. Some begin to realize too late what they are witnessing. Two criminals are crucified beside him. One joins the mockery. The other sees something different. In the middle of agony, he recognizes innocence. He asks Jesus to remember him. Jesus turns his head with effort and makes a promise that defies the horror of the moment. Today, you will be with me in paradise. Even now, grace flows. Darkness begins to cover the land. The sky itself reacts. Hours pass. Jesus struggles to breathe. Every breath requires lifting his body against the nails. Pain beyond words, suffering beyond justice. Below the cross, Mary stands with John. Jesus looks down at them. Even while dying, he makes sure his mother will not be alone. He entrusts her to John. Final acts of love in the middle of unbearable pain. Then comes the cry. My God, why have you forsaken me? It is not doubt. It is fulfillment. It is the weight of the world pressing down all at once. The earth trembles. The sky darkens completely. Something cosmic is happening. Something irreversible. When Jesus finally cries out and breathes his last, the moment feels like the world has stopped turning. The veil in the temple is torn, not by human hands. From top to bottom, access to God is no longer guarded. The separation is gone. The sacrifice is complete. A Roman centurion looks up at the broken body on the cross and speaks the truth no one else will say out loud. Surely this man was the Son of God. Silence follows. The crowd begins to disperse. Hope appears dead, but what they don't yet understand is this. Death has just made the biggest mistake it will ever make. The world does not celebrate when Jesus dies. It goes quiet. The crowd that once screamed for blood slowly drifts away, their voices fading, replaced by an uncomfortable emptiness. Some walk quickly, eager to leave the scene behind. Others linger, staring at the cross as if hoping it will explain what they've just witnessed. It doesn't. Not yet. The soldiers grow uneasy. Even they can feel it. This execution feels different. The darkness, the earthquake, the way Jesus died without hatred in his voice, it shakes them. One by one, they step back, suddenly aware that they may have played a role in something far bigger than Rome. Mary remains. She does not collapse. She does not scream. Her grief is too deep for that. She stands there, staring at her son's lifeless body, every breath feeling unnatural now. This is not how it was supposed to end. The promises, the miracles, the hope, all of it feels buried beneath the weight of the cross. John stays close, just as Jesus asked. He does not know what to say. There are no words that can survive a moment like this. All he can do is stay. Sometimes love looks like silence. Joseph of Arimathea steps forward, risking everything. his reputation, his safety, his position. He asks Pilate for Jesus' body. Pilate is surprised that Jesus is already dead. Another reminder that this was no ordinary execution. Permission is granted. The body is taken down carefully, tenderly, as if everyone involved suddenly understands they are handling something sacred. Jesus is wrapped. The hands that once healed are now still. The eyes that once saw everything are closed. The voice that changed lives is silent. Mary touches his face one last time. The tomb is nearby, a borrowed place. Temporary, though no one dares say that out loud. The stone is rolled in front of the entrance. The final sound echoes like a period at the end of a sentence no one wanted finished. It is over, or so it seems. Elsewhere, the disciples are scattered, broken, afraid. Peter sits alone, replaying every moment in his mind, every chance he had to stand firm, every word he denied. The weight of his failure is crushing. The man he swore to protect died alone, and Peter is still breathing. That truth haunts him. The others are no better. Some hide, some weep, some sit in stunned silence. Their faith did not disappear, it shattered. They believed Jesus would win. They did not understand that this was the victory. The religious leaders think they've succeeded. They discuss securing the tomb, afraid of rumors, afraid of hope returning. Even now, they fear him. Even in death, he unsettles them. Guards are posted. The stone is sealed. Finality is enforced. Night falls again. Jerusalem returns to routine, unaware that the ground beneath it has shifted forever. The lamb has been sacrificed. The price has been paid. But the story is not finished. This episode does not end with triumph. It ends with waiting, with grief, with unanswered questions, with a silence so heavy it almost feels cruel. Because the greatest miracle of all does not come immediately. It comes after despair has fully settled in. And when it comes, nothing will ever be the same again.